Murphy walked into the courtroom like he was crashing a sequel nobody knew was filming. No press heads up, no leaks, nothing. Just Eddie, cool as ever, strolling in like he owned the place. People thought it was a joke at first. Everyone sat up straighter. The man who made millions laugh was about to make a whole courtroom go dead silent. The networking nights. Eddie Murphy didn't vanish from Hollywood because he couldn't get a job. Let's clear that up right now. This man was still fielding offers while brushing his teeth. Studios were calling, streaming giants wanted exclusive deals, and day 12 of the Diddy trial was supposed to be boring. Just another day of suits talking in circles, a few emails shown, maybe someone quietly dodging questions on the stand. But then, Eddie scripts, not auditions, parties, lavish, it wasn't just a party. He told the court
he started
it was a test.
networking nights hosted by Diddy.
The moment that tipped him over, exec even pitched a comeback comedy during a golf game.
Eddie felt something
he was in demand.
These parties
but
were
behind
more
the
than
curtain,
celebrations. They
Eddie
were
had
tests
seen
of
enough.
compliance. There was
It
a
started,
moment when everything
he said,
changed.
with the invites.
A producer called
Nuts
about a new
reporter
project,
literally dropped his
instead
pen.
of discussing scripts,
Nobody
he kept
expected him
steering
to
the
testify.
conversation back to the
But when the
necessity
bailiff
of
called his
showing up
name,
at the right party,
you could hear
you know
jaws
the drill,
hitting the
man.
floor.
He said,
The vibe changed
Make an appearance,
instantly.
shake some hands.
This wasn't
You
some
wanna stay in
routine
the
legal
loop.
footnote
That's
anymore.
when it hit Eddie hard.
High-profile
This wasn't about
networking
talent.
nights
it was
hosted
about
by,
participation.
you guessed
Diddy's
it,
parties
Diddy.
were the epicenter of that
On the
pressure.
surface, these events
From that
looked
point
like
on, Eddie
A-list
realized
heaven.
that saying no
Fancy
meant the
Keddy
calls
wasn't
would
there
trickle
for
to a
laughs.
stop, and
He was
offers
about
would
to
dry
drop
up.
bombs.
We just want to know you're
Suddenly,
still cooperative.
Eddie.
An executive
This
reportedly
wasn't about
told him
talent
that
anymore.
word stuck with
It
Eddie.
was about
Cooperative
participation,
felt
or
more
more
like a demand to
specifically,
act a certain
compliance.
way rather than doing what
He didn't
loved.
name
Here
names
was a
during
man
that
renowned
producer
for his
story,
humor, yet
but
what
he made it very
faced was a
clear that the
chilling
pressure
truth.
to just
Hollywood
show
wasn't
up
about
wasn't
acting
casual.
anymore. It was about
Quote wasn't
behaving.
part of the trial,
This wasn't just
but it
Eddie
sure
Murphy's
resonates
story.
now.
He was the man who once
And
said,
while many
"The thing
stars
about being
chase the
famous
spotlight
is you
until
get
it burns
treated
them out,
differently. The higher
Eddie
you
did the
go,
unthinkable.
The more people
He
want
left
you to
before it
forget
swallowed
what
him
normal
whole.
even feels
Catering,
like. And
private
he lived
DJs,
that truth.
rooms full of
By
stars.
declining invites, he was
But
labeled
Eddie said there was
difficult,
something
not
off
for
about the
causing
whole
problems,
setup.
but
Party
for
at one of
opting
Diddy's
out of them.
homes,
While so
because
many
of course
stars
he had
chase
more
the
than one.
spotlight until it burns them
The place
out,
was
Eddie
packed.
made the bold choice
He wasn't
to
calling
leave before
Diddy
it swallowed
peaceful.
him whole.
He
As the
described
courtroom
one
hung
particular
on his
night.
words, he admitted disappointment rather than
Sean
bitterness.
was calm,
There are
Eddie
people who
said.
built entire
Not just
careers
chill,
just by
but
keeping their heads
still.
down. For Eddie, walking
But instead
away
of talking
wasn't
about
easy.
casting
It
or
meant
plot
choosing integrity
lines,
over
the guy kept
opportunity.
steering the convo
Years
back
later,
to
people would still ask
you get
why
treated
he
differently.
disappeared, and he
And the
would
higher
just
you
shrug,
go,
knowing the
the more
truth
people
lived in
want
those
you to
parties
forget
and
what normal
unspoken
even
rules.
feels like. And Diddy's
wasn't
parties
erased
were the
because I did
epicenter
something
of that
wrong.
compliance.
I was erased because I didn't
According
do
to
what
Eddie's
was
testimony,
expected.
Eddie said
The
that
courtroom
word,
witnessed a significant
cooperative,
moment
stuck
when Eddie
with him.
described a
I
night at
wasn't
one of
being
Diddy's
asked to
homes.
act. I was
Amidst
being
the
asked to
glitzy
behave.
crowd, he was
People
offered
kept calling
a tour.
him difficult
Now, that could have been
when he
friendly
started
hosting,
declining
but the way he
invites.
recounted
Not
it
because he
felt more
caused
like a
problems,
subtle
but because he didn't
power
want to
play.
be part
Diddy
of
opened
them.
a door.
He got a
Revealing
call from a
simple
producer,
tripod in an
supposedly
empty room.
about a new
Eddie's
project.
instinct told him it wasn't
Eddie
for
told the
anything
jury he
good.
didn't walk
He saw
away
not
from
just a piece
Hollywood
of
because he
equipment,
burned
but a
out or
chilling
bombed.
reminder of the
He
darkness
walked because
lurking
his
in
gut
Hollywood.
was screaming.
This
You either
wasn't
played
about a
along
loud
or you
confrontation. It was
disappeared.
about a silent,
And the
eerie
disappearing
warning that
act
stuck
didn't
with
mean
him.
scandal.
From that day forward,
Getting Eddie in the right
chose
circles
not to
again.
return. He
He
didn't
even-
need to disappear.
I
He
felt
wasn't
like I was
washed up.
watching
He was
something
still
rot from
Eddie
the
Murphy,
inside,
known for hits,
and everyone
like
else was just
Beverly
pretending
Hills
it smelled
Cop
like
and
roses.
Shrek. Yet
What's
he
wild
recognized
is
the trap he was
finally
in,
telling
and
everyone
walking
what
away
was really
his
behind
boldest
those
act
locked
of
doors.
self-preservation.
He stayed
The
because he
fallout from
wanted
that
to see what
decision
happened
was
in those
swift.
gatherings.
Eddie went from Hollywood heavyweight
The
to
first and last
virtually
party
invisible.
Eddie attended.
The phone stopped ringing. The emails dried up. He went from Golden Boy to a whispered name, marked as difficult and unbookable. He wasn't
Enjoy
with
life.
a hashtag.
This is
He
a
was
celebration
erased
of life.
quietly,
This is the
without
legendary
fanfare.
white party. It's the
Hollywood,
real white
walking
party.
away is the real career death sentence. Eddie's words ring true. If you don't play the game plays you. It highlights the bitter reality for so many performers. Compliance becomes the name of the game, and fear keeps the truth buried deep. Hollywood thrives on a system of submission. Good people can easily turn into puppets when the stakes are high. Eddie chose to refuse participation, and what followed
When Eddie
was a
Murphy
lesson
took the
in the
stand,
cost
he
of
didn't raise his
integrity.
voice.
Murphy's
He didn't
testimony
point
exposed a
fingers or
hidden
toss
side
around
of the
wild
industry,
stories.
one that few
He
dared
was
to
calm,
confront. The very
which
people
would have
who
been
could
totally
lift you up
normal
often hold
if
the
he hadn't
keys
been
to keeping
describing
you
said,
out.
"You know the
who's
drill,
who
man.
in Hollywood
Make an
can
appearance,
dictate who
shake
gets a
some hands.
career and who
You
is
want to stay in the
sidelined."
loop."
Eddie didn't just
That's
witness
when it
this.
hit. Years
He
later, he'd
experienced
still
it
get asked
firsthand.
why he
His testimony
disappeared.
brought down the curtain
Eddie would shrug
hiding
and
these
give a
truths.
vague answer.
As many in
Unspoken
Hollywood remained
rules no
silent,
one dared
Eddie's
to
brave
challenge
choice to speak out
until
has
now.
spurred conversation.
And in
Voices
court,
like Monique
he didn't
and
hold
Cassie
back.
are now gaining traction.
I wasn't erased
sharing
because
their
I did
own
something
truths
wrong,
about the
he said.
industry's dark
I was
corners.
erased because I didn't do what was
As we dissect
expected.
Eddie Murphy's revelations
So,
in the courtroom,
no,
let's
Diddy.
consider the larger implications
And that was what
of
grabbed
a star
everyone's
like
attention.
him walking away from the glitzy
The minute
allure
you
of
started
Hollywood.
saying no,
Eddie Murphy is
the
not
calls
just a
got
comedian
weird.
or an actor.
The offers
he
slowed.
represents the epitome
I had one exec
of
say,
success in the entertainment
"We just
industry.
want to know
To
you're
see
still
him openly discuss the
cooperative."
toxic undercurrent of the Hollywood
Meant
power
silence.
structure
You
serves
weren't
as a
fired.
wake-up call.
You were just
not
forgotten.
just for those trying to make it in show business,
Now keep
but
in
for
mind,
society at large.
this is the guy who once
in
said,
a realm where stardom is
"The
often
thing about
taken
being
at face
famous
value,
is Eddie looked
Eddie's
in.
disclosure about the
And
pressure
what
to
he
comply
saw
with
wasn't
unwritten
people,
rules shines
wasn't
a
a
light on a
studio,
darker reality.
wasn't a
For many
collection of
aspiring
awards.
artists, the message is clear.
I don't know
Talent
what it
isn't
was for,"
always enough.
Eddie said.
The
But I knew
moment
it
you
wasn't
turn
for
down an
anything
invitation
good.
to a Diddy
That
party
was the
or
moment.
a meeting with a
No
powerful
wires.
executive,
Just
you risk
standing
getting
there.
sidelined. It's
Alone.
a troubling truth that many
He
in the
didn't talk
industry are
much,
all too familiar
just kind
with,
of
yet few dare to
floated.
voice.
Murphy
Imagine
said,
what it's like for younger entertainers.
"You know when someone
stepping
doesn't
onto
need
the
to say they're in
scene?
charge?
The pressure must be immense.
That was
They see
Sean.
established stars like Eddie opting out of the game, and
But
the
then
fear
something
of being
happened.
forgotten looms large.
Eddie said Diddy
As Eddie
offered to
pointed
give him a
out,
little
it's not
walkthrough of the
that
house,
you get fired,
which
it's that
sure
you
could have just
simply
been
become
friendly
invisible.
hosting.
Hollywood
The
has
vibe
a way
was
of
glitzy,
conveniently
and
forgetting
Eddie was
those
just
who
trying to
don't
blend
play
in,
along, a
maybe
tactic
crack a
many
few,
industry
say
veterans
hey
have
to some
seen
producers,
firsthand.
and
This
leave
brings
with
us
his
to the
conscience
concept
intact
of
jokes.
invisible artists.
But the way
those who
Eddie
have either
told it,
chosen to step back
it
or
felt
have been
more like
forced
a
into
subtle
silence.
power move.
Think about the many
Was a
talented
tripod.
individuals who
That's
once
it.
lit up
A
screens
plain,
but have
silent
faded into
tripod
obscurity
standing in the
simply
center of
for
an empty
choosing
room.
not to
No
bow to the
camera.
system.
Then came the
Eddie's
door.
decision to leave wasn't
Diddy
about
stopped
giving
right
up.
in front
It
of
was
him.
about self-preservation
Didn't say a word.
in an
Just
environment
opened
that
it.
can quickly
Part
turn
way.
on you. What's even more interesting
Eddie Murphy
is how
didn't
Eddie's
fizzle out.
testimony resonates
He left
with
a room
various
no one
movements
else had the
currently
guts to walk out
unfolding in
of.
the industry.
And now,
as the narrative
he's
around
still.
accountability gains
That
momentum,
word hit
more
different.
celebrities are beginning
Because
to
in the
speak
middle
out.
of parties
Take a
where
look
the
at
music's
how many
blasting
stars
and
have recently
egos are
come
bouncing off
forward,
the
sharing
walls,
stories of
stillness is
coercion,
either Zen master
manipulation,
energy
and the sometimes
or
gruesome
predator
sacrifices
energy.
made for success.
And
with
the
the
vibe
rise
was
of
off,
these revelations,
really
there's a
off.
real sense that a shift
Eddie
is
didn't
on the
ask
horizon.
questions.
A
He
shift
didn't
away
step
from
said,
blind loyalty
"That was
to
the
those
last
in power.
one.
Eddie
Last
Murphy
party.
isn't just the
Last
voice of one
event.
man. He
I stopped
represents
showing
many
up.
who have felt the immense
crazy
strain
part?
of navigating
Murphy,
Hollywood's
the man who
treacherous
headlined
waters.
Beverly Hills
As he
Cop,
articulated
Shrek,
his
and
decision to walk
Dreamgirls.
away. He
Not
did
some
so with
loud
a sense of
confrontation.
urgency that echoes
Not a
among
shouting
those
match.
silent voices.
Just a quiet,
Let's
eerie
take a moment
visual
to
that
reflect
stuck
on the
with him.
names that have been mentioned
Now, a
alongside
tripod by
Eddie.
itself isn't a
Monique,
crime.
who openly
It's a
challenged
tool.
the industry about
But
equitable
context
pay
is
and
everything.
representation, and
Inside.
Cassie, who recently
He just
shared
gave
her
Diddy a
experience
nod
with
and
Diddy,
said something
their
vague
courage
about needing to
adds
catch a
layers
flight.
to Eddie's narrative.
Classic
it shows a
Eddie
growing
smooth
movement,
exit.
a collective refusal
And from
to
that
be
moment
silenced.
on,
Each of these artists
he
is
was
adding
done.
their voice to a larger tapestry
In that
of
party
truth,
hosted by
signaling
text,
that the
that
tides
kind
are
of
beginning to
at
turn
that Eddie
against
didn't
the
have to
established
disappear.
norms.
He wasn't
This
washed up.
collective shift
Wasn't
isn't
struggling
merely
for
about seeking
roles.
justice.
He was
it's
still
about
for
changing
roles.
the landscape
He
of
was still
Hollywood.
Eddie
The
Murphy.
stories of powerful figures
They'll never tell you
wielding
to
influence
leave,
through
he
fear
said.
and favoritism
They'll just
are
stop
becoming
pretending
harder
you're
to
invited.
ignore. Eddie's testimony,
But Eddie Murphy
along
changed the
with
whole vibe the
experiences of
moment he
those
walked
like
in.
Monique and Cassie,
Nobody
reflects a crucial
expected him to
moment in
testify,
Hollywood history,
and when he
one where
did,
vulnerability
the
is
courtroom
finally
hung on
being
every
embraced as
word like it
strength,
was the
and
season
truth is
finale
being
of a
honored.
binge-worthy
Robin
series.
Williams once said,
One of the
"Comedy is
juiciest
acting
parts."
out optimism." While
Eddie
that holds
described
true,
that
it also
surreal night
highlights
where,
a
and in
deeper
that
reality.
courtroom you could
Behind
tell
every laugh there can be a
no one was
profound
going to look at a
struggle.
tripod
Eddie
the
Murphy
same
was
way
once
again.
the king of comedy, but laughter
Hollywood's
shouldn't
silent
mask the
consequences
anxiety and pressure that
was the
comes with
line.
fame. His
The
journey
moment he
underscores
realized
the
the scene
importance
he
of
was
mental
standing
health
in wasn't
the
some
industry,
quirky
a
Hollywood
topic that is
tale.
now more
He
relevant
had
than
Hollywood
ever
on
as
speed
these
dial.
giants begin to share
But he
their
walked
truth.
away with
The
powerful
impact
people,
of Eddie's Eddie's testimony extends beyond Hollywood.
Beneath the surface,
it's a reflection of
there was a
broader
dark
societal
ritual going
conversations
on.
about the cost of success.
Something darker.
How far are people
And his
willing
gut
to go
told him
for
to
fame?
get out while he
What
still had
lines
the
are they
choice.
willing to cross?
There was
the
no
haunting
footage,
nature of
no
these
smoking
unspoken
gun.
truths reverberates
Just a quiet.
across
And when the
various
prosecutor
professions.
asked
The
him
fear
why
of
he never
losing
talked
one's
about it
place,
before,
of becoming irrelevant,
Eddie
is
simply
a
said,
sentiment
"A moment
we
in a
can all
hallway
identify
and a
with,
silent
regardless
witness
of
who
our
finally
careers.
decided to talk."
What about the role of social
Day
media
12
in
of the
this
Diddy
evolving
trial was
narrative?
supposed to be
In
just
recent
another
years,
routine
the
day
rise
in
of
court.
platforms where voices can be amplified
I didn't want to be
offers
part
a
of that
new stage
story.
for accountability. With visibility
Dwayne Johnson
comes
was
the power
also
to
in the
question the
mix,
status quo.
and things
Eddie's
got seriously
testimony
weird.
might serve as a catalyst,
That tripod
emboldening
wasn't
others
just
to
equipment.
speak out, to
It was a
challenge the
symbol.
narrative,
For
and
Murphy,
to stand
that
firm in
wasn't
their
your typical
convictions.
party
The potential
decoration.
ripple effect is
It was a
massive.
silent warning.
Now,
A
consider
reminder
this.
that Eddie
What if
mentioned a
Eddie's
chilling moment
revelations
when
lead
Diddy
to a
calmly
significant
stopped by a
change in
door
how
and nodded shot it
Hollywood
at a
operates.
tripod set
What
up
if future
inside.
entertainers no longer
That
feel the
everything
need to conform
happening
to
was
toxic
being recorded or
traditions?
watched.
This scenario brings
The
us
kind
to
of
envision a
big
new
Eddie
generation
painted a picture that
of
sounded
artists
straight
who
out
are
of a
empowered
Hollywood
to
urban
define
legend.
their careers without
Just
compromising
imagine a
their
room
integrity.
filled.
These
Meanwhile, The
conversations
Rock,
can
Dwayne
lead to
Johnson,
action,
was there
where
too,
artists hold each other
probably
accountable
thinking,
and foster
"Am I really
an
seeing
environment
this?
that thrives on collaboration
Consume this
rather
grotesque
than compliance."
dish."
Yet, as
And the
we
role
cheer
you've
for
been
change,
chasing
we
is
must
yours.
also prepare for pushback.
Eddie recalled it was the
entertainment
kind of
industry has
surreal
long
moment that
resisted
sticks with you
shifts in its
forever.
power dynamics. A
Jaw
system
dropper
that
came when
thrives
Eddie
on fear and
described the
control
infamous
won't
offering of raw
relinquish
monkey
that power
brains.
willingly. There
Told
may
how
be
the crowd
attempts
acted like
to
this was normal.
ostracize those who
Like,
dare to question
yeah,
or challenge.
this is just
but
how
the
you earn your
courage
spot.
displayed by Eddie and others
No,
can
this
set a
wasn't some
powerful
bizarre
precedent.
movie set prop.
In the end, Eddie Murphy's
It was
testimony
presented as a
symbolizes
test.
much more than just
Brother
grievances
is always
aired
watching
in a courtroom.
vibe that would
It
make
reveals a
anyone's
culture
skin
rife
crawl.
with complexities where
But
the
the
stakes
real
are high,
Eddie didn't
silence
just
is
watch the
expensive, and the
madness.
cost of
He made a
integrity often
choice.
feels insurmountable.
He walked out of
As
that
we
room
track
and
this
never
unfolding
returned.
drama, we're witnessing a
decision
pivotal
wasn't
moment
easy,
in Hollywood.
especially
it's a moment
since
that
work
demands
wasn't
our
exactly
attention, a
scarce
moment
for
that
him.
shouldn't be swept
The
under
calls,
the rug. So what
if
do
you
you
don't
think?
play the
Is Eddie
game,
Murphy's
the game
courageous
plays
stand
you.
a sign of a brighter
It's a
future for
simple
the
truth
industry,
that
or
cuts
merely
deep.
the initial
Climbing
flicker
the
of a
Hollywood
larger
ladder.
flame yet to be ignited?
But Eddie
Share
felt
your thoughts
something
in the
was
comments
seriously
below.
off.
Remember to like this
Instead
video
of the usual
and subscribe
glitz
to
and
stay
glam from
updated on
producers
this
kept
developing
coming.
story. We've
The
only
networking
scratched the
nights
surface
hosted
of
by
what's
Diddy were
happening
supposed
behind
to
the
be the
scenes,
key to
and
climb.
together we'll
It felt
follow
like
the
he was
next
stepping into
chapters
a
as they
trap.
unfold.
This
Catch you
wasn't
in
just
the
about
next
getting
video.
ahead.